Well, let's switch gears and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of the ring. I know you've done a lot of charity work, been involved with various organizations. Tell me about some of the stuff that you've gotten to help out with over the years.
Oh gosh, so for the last 40 years, when through wrestling, I worked with the Dare I'm sorry, the MAD, Moms Against Drunk Drivers, with the Carlisle County District of Pennsylvania for 2 years. 2 years in a row, I did that. We would go up from it would be 2 days a week, September, October, November, all the way up until April. Uh, so it was always Monday, Tuesday. I would come home Tuesday night. The organization would put me up in a hotel. We would do four schools, two on Monday, two on Tuesday, and then I'd come home, and I did get compensated for it. Was very grateful because I told the story about how my brother got killed by a person that was high. And although the drug is not an evil drug, it's something that if you have to use it because of medicinal issues, you need to stay at home and do it. And so I had the opportunity of being able to work with the MAD program there, as well as working with the New Jersey State Troopers in 1987, 88, and 89. And they gave me an award, which I cherish to this day, on
Congratulations.
self defense, women in self defense for 1987, 88, and 80. Yeah, 1987, 88, and 89. Around December, the state trooper department contacted me and asked me would I work with their officers on women in self-defense. And because I was a local celebrity with the wrestling, and they thought it would help to see, and then my size, because I wasn't very big. um, yeah, I did, and I did it with high honors. And then through the past, we just did American Heart Association. I work with American Heart Association now since 1998. Currently, where when I was working with the school system as a physical education teacher with little kids, we did American Heart Hoop for Heart,
Yep,
and then we did
jump
jump
rope for
ropes.
heart.
Yeah, jump rope for heart.
Hmm.
And then our school would give a donation. And then this year, my facility, I work for Planet Fitness Corporation. The owner I work for is National Fitness Partners out of Key, Keystone, Pennsylvania. They just bought us out. And the other bosses were the Art Thomas brothers, beautiful people. Anyhow, I've been with Planet 8 years now. And what we do is we are involved with American Heart Association. We just had four of our treadmills, a huge participation, where out of the 180 facilities that we're part of, we actually beat the 180 because of our participation on supporting American Heart. And we also support the Boys and Girls Club of New Jersey. I've been involved with them before I even started with Planet Fitness, volunteering my time. Initially, we were volunteering our time in May and June of 2016 all the way up until 2019, well, when the pandemic happened and then it stopped. We would go for every Wednesday for an hour and work with the kids that would come after school there on fitness and moving, just moving, doing boot camp style workouts. That way they don't get bored, they would have fun. And also supporting by doing the mile walk and the run. And I do have a talk show as well as what I do with Planet
Yeah,
Fitness.
talk about that.
So the talk show, I have women on that. I have a lot of women that today my guest was Liz Sui. She's a musician. We let her play she dropped a song called Body Image. So we played that on the station. But I have women telling about their truth, their story on their trials and tribulations. I had a clam digger on my show. I've had the first African judge of New Jersey. She was on my show, and it's basically I sit and it's like having a cup of coffee or just like I am talking with you, and we're conversating about what they do for a living, how they got there, their trials, their tribulations, because we all go through something, and
Hmm.
I learn. And these are just a couple of things that I am very, and I do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I do. I was just thinking I've done some stuff for the local, my I'm in the Vineland district, so I've worked with the school systems on movement, the importance of movement with the kids. I've worked with the pre-K and the kindergartners in the different school systems. When I'm not at Planet, I go for an hour and say, "Hey, okay," and and then explain the importance of moving and why. And then they participate as well. So it's a constantly, we're all here to help each other, right?
Hmm.
Um, whether we're lesson or blessing. I want to be a blessing to people. I don't want to have to be that lesson.
Yes. What is your favorite part about working with kids? Because it seems like you've been involved with the school system for a while, quite a
Um,
while.
so I think with me with children, what children are children are like cats. They're not easily entertained. You have to earn their trust. I really firmly believe that. I'm glad you actually asked this. I think when it comes to children, from my observation on the end that I get to work with them, because I get to do the fun stuff, right?
Mhm.
When they realize that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still have fun and move and not be judged for it. I think, and you see the light bulb going off. Or when I would teach phys ed, I literally had a very good curriculum. And if you were a student in my class, and you were in seventh and eighth grade, you were taking a written test on the human body and you had to pass it. If you were in fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, you took a written test once a year on primary sports, soccer, hockey, basketball, because even if you don't want to play these sports, you might want to be a journalist. And I would explain this to the students coming in. Even if you can't stand playing an organized sport, you might want to be a writer. You need to know about this. You
Mhm.
need to know the fundamental. Even if you never play it ever again, you have to know this. And then what I would observe, and I worked harder with the children that did not like organized sports or did not like gym. They thought they didn't like gym, right? Physical education. And it's not that they didn't like physical education, they didn't like orthodox physical education. They didn't like organized basketball. They didn't like organized soccer. They didn't like organized softball, because now you have to be a Janie jock or a Joey jock. And I understand where they're coming from, that those things always came easy to me. So it was my responsibility to take this sport or activity, teaching them functional movement, hand eye coordination, agility, stamina, endurance. There's so much more involved than just dribbling a ball and shooting a basket, right? And then I would break it down and say, this is why you're doing it. And then I would take literally, we would play big ball, kickball. And it's, the stability balls that everyone, well,
Mhm.
picture one of those three times the size, right? A great big ball. And, I was fortunate enough, I was blessed by priests that worked with me, a good administration. They gave me whatever toys I needed to keep the kids entertained. And we would have this great big ball and we would play big ball kickball. And these were kids that did not, some of these kids did not like, or they loved it because it was not normal. It was like, we play big ball kickball. What's that? It just like taking something that's not normal and making it a normalcy. Or the other thing, dodgeball. We play dodgeball. we were one of the few schools left allowed to. But my kids also knew that if you hit anybody in the face, you're done. Like, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So it's learning. The children, you have to earn their trust, uh, and reiterate it's okay to have fun and still grow up.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate the most is watching the light bulb go off. It sometimes the seventh and eighth graders would go by and they would see the younger kids playing a simple game like a tag game where I would have these spots thrown all over the gymnasium, and not everybody had a spot, so it became a pushing game, right? So
Mhm.
you had to get on that spot like musical chair before someone else did. And my seventh and eighth graders would be scheduled to play basketball that day. And they're like, Mrs. D, are we playing that? I'm like, no, that's for a fourth grader. But we want to play that. When you take a 13, 14-year-old child that still wants to be a child, you run with that. And I would say to the principal, they want to play that game. And she's like, well, then let them. And I would let them. And that's to say, like, it's okay to have fun, you
Yeah.
know?
You're
Life
only
is,
young once.
you are. And I would tell them that. I'm like, you hit 18, you are paying taxes the rest of your life. Right now, you don't have to. You know?
Be blessed.
Absolutely.